us. Now, here's your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant.
Welcome. Today, I have a very special treat for everyone out there. Tomorrow is Easter, which symbolizes death, rebirth, and renewal. And on today's show, my co-host Kim Michaels and I, Kim agreed to do a much longer dictation today from the Ascended Masters, seeking guidance for everyone, all of the children, the young adults, the teenagers, and the parents who are just kind of lost when it comes to creating a new paradigm shift for parenting in the new age. I know that parents like myself with adult children, we have a lot of regrets about what we did and what we should have done and what we didn't do right. And so there's a lot of guilt associated with not doing better because we didn't know better. And so I think it's time for a rebirth and a renewal in our thinking in that area. And I couldn't think of a better show today than to seek some guidance from up on high from the Ascended Masters. So welcome, Kim Michaels, and thank you for agreeing to do a show today on this topic. I think it's very timely because I don't know a parent out there who, you know, whether they have adult children or young children or teenagers, who isn't kind of lost and frustrated on this topic, and everybody's trying to find their way. So what are your thoughts on this? Because I don't think you've actually you've done a lot of books, but I don't think you've done one on parenting per se.
No, well, that's partly because I don't consider myself an expert on parenting, even though I have 3 biological children and have raised several others. But, you know, my thought is that when we're spiritual people, we have options that ordinary people, or whatever I should say, non-spiritual people don't have. Because the first thing I think we should recognize is we are on a very, very difficult planet.
Yes.
It's really is not an easy place to be on, and it's not an easy place to raise children in.
Hello.
And this has a lot to do with the things we've been talking about on other shows, but I think it also has something to do with the fact that our society has created sort of a very strange culture, I think, that sets parents up to fail.
Yes. Absolutely. Takes the power away from parents as well. Like if you don't go along with the system here, one of my students I met with last week who has a 4-month-old baby was just in tears and frightened because she didn't want to be forced to give vaccinations to her baby, but is afraid that her child will be taken away from her. And so there's this conflict of big brother, you know, forcing parenting. And here in America, your child can be taken away from you if there's a diagnosis of cancer and you choose to go a natural route and the doctor says, no, we want to do chemotherapy and radiation, you know, which of course kills the immune system and everything that's good along with it. So it is a very, very scary place to raise children. And I think it takes a lot of courage to even be a parent today.
Yeah, I think it does. And I also think we need to recognize that well, first of all, none of us really had any education in how to parent.
Exactly.
We observed our own parents and some of our family members, which were most likely more or less dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And so that's our role models, you know. And we've never, we still have a society, you know, that gives us education in a lot of areas, but not in our own psychology and not in parenting.
Well, and you know, with me being a psychologist, Kim, that's one of the things that I always admonish my students, that the best thing they can ever do before they become a parent is to take some classes in child psychology and in child development so that they know these things ahead of time instead of looking back and going, oh my God, I wish I had known that, you know, when my child was younger. And, you know, I've always said we need a license to drive, we need a license to get married, we need a license for everything, but no license to have kids. You know, it just makes no sense. So that's a very cogent point about the lack of education. And so for me as an educator, that's why it's important for me to do shows like this. And I'm actually in the process of doing research research for a documentary, a short documentary to help parents. And the first person that I interviewed, I asked her, she was around my age, I asked her, what would she do differently if she had to do it all over again as a parent? And this is a stranger that I met at the train station. And she looked at me straight in the eye and she said, I wouldn't do it. I would not have children.
and I think many parents feel that way. But, this is what I was saying, too. It's like we start parenting without having any really good preparation for
No clue.
But then there is a culture that we are supposed to be perfect at it.
Yes. How about that?
And if we are not, it's our fault.
Mm-hmm. And in America, we had this show called Father Knows Best. And so it's like, parents are supposed to know best. And what I've seen is we either emulate the model of our parents in terms of our parenting, or we go way over on the other side. And that's exactly what I did. Like I came from this authoritarian, spare the rod, spoil the child, beat them. And I saw what that did to my siblings, and
you said, I'll never do that to my kid.
Exactly. So I was way over on the other end of the spectrum, not wanting to beat my children or use violence. And, so I was using all these psychological methods. But at the end of the day, the kids coming in, after us are a lot smarter than us and learn how to manipulate us at a very, very early age. And so my daughter always teases me about my son. And she says, that child should have been beaten,
Well, I mean, not necessarily beaten, but you need to teach the children that there is a limit.
Oh, I agree. And setting boundaries on him was just so difficult.
But I think that's also an important point you're bringing up, because I think we need to recognize that most of us in our age group, we grew up in a much more authoritarian society.
Oh, for sure.
And we saw the consequences of it. Mm-hmm. So we are sort of the first generation that had to bring society out of that. And it's natural that we go too far to the other extreme. I mean, what else are we going to do?
Yeah, it's just true. My whole thing was I didn't want to be anything like the parents that I knew. I mean, because I just didn't see anything in terms of their parenting that was worthy of emulating. And so, even though I know that I did some very, very good things as a parent, what I do know is that one size doesn't fit all, and that each child is very, very unique. And we really, really need some help here. So that's why I thought, well, let me ask him to see if he'd be willing to do a dictation from the Ascended Masters to give us some guidance, because I just think we need a higher form of guidance than what's out there. Because like if you look at Dr. Spock, like back in the 50s and the 60s, a lot of the teachings that he had about raising children were absolutely harmful and detrimental, and, have proven later on to be detrimental. And, of course, I followed some of that model of, letting kids just scream and cry and put them in a playpen and lock them up like they're in jail all by themselves. And that really that's not good parenting.
Right. Yeah, but that's again we have to realize that we are in a society, we are in a time period where things are changing very rapidly.
Yes.
And I don't think we can really apply a system here. And I think that's another dysfunctional thing about our culture, is that because of the scientific kind of mechanistic approach that we have to everything, we think that raising children should be like operating a piece of machinery.
And you can't. Yeah.
If we find out how to do it right, then it should work. It should always produce the right result.
For everybody, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're all like snowflakes, every one of us are unique, every one of us are different. We have, different DNA, different experiences, different past lives, and we don't have any guidebook, no help. And so today, for all of you listening out there, I am asking for help. And I'm very grateful that we have this opportunity and that we have the show and we can actually do things like this, because I think the beginning of self-improvement is recognizing what you don't know. that's a huge step in the right direction, because there's that whole other area of things that we don't even know that we don't know. But at least if we know we don't know, then we can ask for help. And so,
well, the first really step is to become aware enough that you can ask questions.
Yes.
Because so many times we don't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah,
and we just assume that we're supposed to know this.
Well, and you know, here's another thing that I've run across, and I've seen this with the new parents who have young kids, and this is in America, and the kids are a lot quieter, I've noticed, and a lot more well-behaved in other countries as I travel the world. But there's this concept now that the children know best. And so I believe that, you know, children do have an innate intuitive guidance, and they do come here, you know, very, very bright. But then there's certain basic things that, you know, we're their parents, in terms of nutrition and health and safety. We're here to guide them in that area. And I see parents asking kids, you know, when they go out to eat, well, what do you want to eat? And then the kid only wants ice cream and cookies and candy and you know, food that has absolutely no nutritional value. And I'm sitting there thinking, now, what would make you think that that kid has a clue about what would be good or healthy for that child to eat? And so I think we still need some balance there. Yes, we want to listen to our children, but at the same time, you can't just let a kid run buck wild and then think that, oh, it's all good in that area.
But I mean, if you look at the technological development we've gone through over the past 1,000 years, that's because we have built onto what was discovered previously.
Yeah.
Why would we, every 10 years, zero technology back to the year 1000 and start inventing the wheel all over again?
Exactly.
That's what we're asking our kids to do. Of course, we have something to offer them that they don't know.
Right.
They don't know how to get along with us, for example.
Exactly.
and maybe we don't know how to get along with ourselves, but then where we could start figuring that out.
And how about just a little respect? Because the other thing that I've seen with this generation, you know, our generation was taught to listen to our elders and to show some respect. We were way, you know, over on the other side of the pendulum, where we gave, you know, like blind respect to authority. And so I think we need to have a middle road somewhere in there. But I see with today's younger children, like, absolutely no respect for elders and for authority. And I think that that is in order, you know, because older people do have a certain level of experience. Not that we know everything, of course we don't, but there should be this give and take.
Yeah, but just the fact that you have a child living in your home, you're giving them food and shelter and raising them, that deserves some respect. I mean, give me a break.
I think so. Somewhere in there should be a little appreciation.
The fact that you are another human being living on this planet. I mean, if children grow up having no respect for other people, how is the world going to become more peaceful?
Exactly. And I just see this lack of gratitude and appreciation. And so hopefully we're getting ready to go into commercial break. We're going to have our first dictation coming through. And I'm very, very excited to hear what the Ascended Masters have to tell us about what we can learn as parents and how we can help our adult children and our younger children. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, at drparthenia.com, and my co-host, Kim Michaels, at transcendencetoolbox.com. We will be back with more after commercial break on this Easter weekend.
Experience a luxury boutique hotel escape in the heart of Laguna Beach, California, with the finest art gallery, shopping, dining, and nightlife just steps from your door. the heart of Laguna Beach, the edge of the sea. It's the Inn at Laguna Beach. Enjoy our comfortable rooms, blending the style of a timeless beach bungalow with the modern comforts of today. 70 newly appointed guest rooms and suites await you at the Inn at Laguna Beach. Then, relax at the rooftop bar, where you'll indulge in breathtaking views of the ocean. For dining, you'll find libations and local cuisine on the California coastline, including dining at the legendary Las Brisas, a Southern California landmark. The Inn at Laguna Beach, footsteps from room to village to sea, located in the heart of Laguna Beach. The Inn is within walking distance of all that Laguna Beach has to offer. No car required. The Inn at Laguna Beach, 211 North Coast Highway in Laguna Beach, California. Call 800-544-4479 or visit innatlagunabeach.com.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you could donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-785-9618. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now, 1-800-785-9618. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now, 1-800-785-9618. That's 1-800-785-9618.
Do you drink really pure water? If you drink bottled water, you should know about the bottled water dirty little secrets. Plastic bottles come from oil products. The polycarbonate jugs contain bisphenol A, a synthetic estrogen that's raised health concerns. Bottled water dispensers quickly develop algae and bacteria and should be sanitized regularly. Have you ever cleaned your water dispenser? Are you ingesting algae and bacteria and synthetic estrogen? Here's the good news. Pure Water Science can replace that dirty, outdated bottled water cooler with a high-tech water purification system. The Pure Water Science system features a stainless steel tank that constantly monitors water quality. It guarantees your water is pure. It alerts you when service or filter changes are needed, and the multi-stage purification system removes organic and inorganic contaminants. The patented self-sanitizing feature eliminates algae and bacteria while it adds oxygen to your water, and it costs less than bottled water without the bottled water hassle. No more bottles to lift. Call now, 818-502-4191. Pure Water Science, 818-502-4191.
Okay, we're back with more of Divine Love Talk, and Kim Michaels with his first dictation today from the Ascended Masters. Kim Michaels.
I am the Ascended Master, Mother Mary, and I am happy to talk about the topic of parenting. The first thing I would like you to do is to envision all of the images you have seen of me holding the Christ child. Here is this beautiful young woman dressed in perfectly clean clothes with a child who is, quite frankly, usually overweight, but nevertheless dressed immaculately. And so the images you have received is that I was the perfect parent and Jesus was the perfect child. So I would like you to take these images and throw them in the garbage can in your mind, because they have no bearing on reality. I was in embodiment like you are in embodiment. I may or may not have had greater spiritual attainment than you do now. But do not believe that I was the perfect person or that Jesus was the perfect child. Our life together, my bringing up Jesus, was messy. It was very messy because he was a very difficult and very demanding child. The only way that I could survive in that environment was to be true to myself. And that, of course, required that I had to make an effort to know myself, which was difficult because I was very young at the time. So you see, the first lesson I would like to give you in parenthood is that it is not about focusing, first of all, on the children, but about focusing on yourself. Know yourself first. How else will you know how to relate to your children? This, of course, means in practical terms that you walk the spiritual path that we have described in so many books and teachings on our website, either through this messenger or other messengers. There is so much material today that is available that was not available when I was walking this path. So take advantage of this, whether you are planning to become a parent, whether you are already a parent. Spend some effort to at least tune into the essence of the path and finding out who you really are and what you really like to do in this lifetime. You see, my beloved, being a good parent, so to speak, first of all requires that you know yourself. You know who you are as a parent. Because, my beloved, if you are asking your child to tell you what kind of parent you should be, you have set yourself up for disaster right there. You see, it is not correct, as many people say today, that your children should be in charge. It is perfectly true that previous generations were far too authoritarian and therefore mistreated their children. But it is not true that you should jump into the opposite extreme and expect that children can bring up themselves. They cannot. There is no child ever who has been able to bring up him or herself. They need parents to give them some guidance. And my beloved, this does not have to be perfect guidance. You have, first of all, to be yourself, to be true to who you are, and to define the limits of what you will accept and not accept in your home and in your personal life. Your children, then, it is their job to adapt to this and use it constructively later in life. They may do what you did. They may follow your example, or they may go beyond your example. But if you are not in the authoritarian extreme, they will not rebel against you. And the best thing that can happen is that when you know yourself and you are open to helping your child get to know himself or herself, then there will come a point in a child's life where you will have a mutual understanding. You will come to respect each other as individual human beings, and the children may at some point actually come to understand that the way you brought them up was not the only way, but it was your way. And since you are the parent, you have a right to bring them up your way.
Wow, that was very, very powerful and very appropriate for this discussion. We will be back with more of Mother Mary on parenting after commercial break. You're listening to Divine Love Talk with my co-host Kim Michaels, and I am your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant, at drparthenia.com and Divine Love Talk TV on YouTube. Kim Michaels is at transcendencetoolbox.com.
Experiencing pain, back pain, shoulder, elbow, or hand pain, pain from a sports injury? If so, schedule a visit with Dr. Michael Sheps, the leading expert in laser therapy for pain management. Call 310-873-4422 or go to drsheps.com. Experience Epic T, the breakthrough laser therapy system that Dr. Sheps developed to make you pain-free in less time. Laser therapy is a non-invasive, safe, and effective in-office procedure that penetrates deep into your skin without damaging the tissue. It perfectly targets areas of pain to promote fast, natural healing. Relax your muscles, ease muscle spasms, joint stiffness, and arthritis pain while increasing blood circulation. For over 25 years, Dr. Sheps has helped Olympic athletes and sports enthusiasts alike get back in the game. Schedule your visit with Dr. Sheps at his Brentwood office in California. Call 310-873-4422 or visit drsheps.com. That's DRSHEPS.com, 310-873-4422.
Hi, friends. This is Larry Minetti. Go to LarryMinetti.com to get my book, Aloha Magnum. You'll read all about the wonderful guest stars like Carol Burnett, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, and many, many more. Also, there is an episode guide and my favorite recipes that I really cook at home. I will include a free signed photo with every book. Get Aloha Magnum at LarryManetti.com. Order now. Aloha.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? Yeah. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-471-5173, 800-471-5173.
Attention CRN listeners in Arizona. Now all of your mortgage needs can be handled by Advance Capital Mortgage. Looking for a reverse mortgage, refinance, new purchase, or just to streamline your FHA and HARP? Our rates are great with dozens of lending solutions. Call Advance Capital Mortgage, 855-437-8421. That's 855-437-8421. 855-437-8421. MBO 91903, MLS 716936. Come to Wine Country. Vacation at the beautiful Fountain Grove Inn and Conference Center in Santa Rosa, California. Experience the luxurious guest rooms, generously sized and decorated in the Tuscan tradition. Sleep on pillow-top mattresses with luxurious linens and down-filled comforters. The Fountain Grove Inn also offers complimentary Wi-Fi and internet access, and you can enjoy coffee in the hotel lobby. And now you can visit the new steakhouse at Equus Restaurant and the Equus Lounge, all at the Fountain Grove Inn. Relax and enjoy a glass of wine and learn about wine with CRN radio host Larry Van Alsten's What's Cooking on Wine radio show. It's broadcast at the Fountain Grove Inn Hotel and Conference Center, located in the heart of Sonoma Wine Country, easily located in Santa Rosa off the 101 freeway at the Fountain Grove Parkway exit. Call 707-578-6101. That's 707-578-6101 or visit fountaingroveinns.com. Call now, 707-578-6101.
We're back with more of Kim Michaels and his extended message from the Ascended Masters on this Easter weekend. Thank you, Kim Michaels and Mother Mary.
I am the Ascended Master, Mother Mary, and I want to make you aware that we do not have commercial breaks in heaven, but I am happy to comply with the necessities of life on earth. Now, as I said, it is very important for good parenting that you know who you are, and you know what you will tolerate and not tolerate in this lifetime. And this, of course, is something we don't know from the outset, and we may not know this fully when we become parents, but it is something you can develop over time. Now, I would like to point out to you that you need to be aware that the modern age is fundamentally different than when I was a parent to Jesus so long ago. Because everyone today is much more busy and has many more demands on their attention than was happening back then. You cannot hardly believe the difference in how peaceful life was back then in normal circumstances where there was no war compared to what you have today. The stress you are under in what you call normal life is tremendously bigger than what I experienced 2,000 years ago. And you should be aware of this, and you should cut yourself some slack, as the popular saying goes. It is an impossible task to have both parents have a job and career, you have one or several children, you are busy in your daily lives, and at the same time, you are supposed to maintain romance in your relationship. It is an impossible task. You need to start by recognizing that it's an impossible task, because then you can adjust your expectations to yourself accordingly and not expect that you can be perfect at an impossible task. So many parents today have been set up to think that they should be perfect. As was said earlier, you have no particular education in being a parent. You do not even have good examples and role models. But on top of that, you have the busy modern lifestyle, and you cannot expect perfection, my beloved. And I can assure you that from a spiritual viewpoint, perfection is not required of you. I am not here making any excuse for abusing children in various ways, but the vast majority of parents in today's world are not abusing their children. I am talking about the many people who are being normal, caring, and loving parents to the best of their ability, but who still feel inadequate at the task, and who are often labeled that way by society, by neighbors, by various authority figures. And I want to tell you that I would like to take all of your regret and shame concerning parenthood away from you if you will only give it to me. It is really no service to life or the forward progression of society that you go around beating yourself up, to use another popular expression, over not having been the perfect parent when you never could have been the perfect parent and when you are not expected to be. You see, my beloved, the child that is growing up in your presence is not a perfect human being when they come in. This is one of the most dangerous and most dysfunctional aspects of modern culture, is that you deny from both science and Christianity the reality of reincarnation. Somehow you think that the children who come in on a blank slate, and therefore if they are brought up by you, and if they end up not being able to function in society or acting out in antisocial ways, it must be your parenting that was wrong. But the reality is that all children come in from previous lifetimes with various amounts of baggage, emotional, psychological wounds, various habit patterns, various ways of thinking, various attitudes to life that they themselves have developed over many lifetimes and have often reinforced. You may think that Jesus was the perfect child, but he also came, contrary to what Christianity teaches, from many past lifetimes where he had built up a certain attitude that he knew best. Many of the children that are born today have a similar attitude. The reason for this is that in order to make humankind progress faster, we are allowing children to come into embodiment today who have slightly more spiritual attainment than their parents. You can look back at your own parents, most of you, and if you are completely honest with yourself, you can see that you did have more spiritual attainment than your own parents. In some ways, you were wiser and had a better vision than them. But if you are equally honest, you can also see that you still had things to learn from your parents because you were not able to bring up yourself as a child. Transfer this to your own children. Your children have certain things that they might be able to see more clearly than you see it. But this does not mean that they are capable of bringing up themselves. But the fact is that in today's age, we are allowing the embodiment of certain souls that are actually a little bit ahead of what is the norm according to the collective consciousness. These souls will in most cases be allowed to embody in families where one or both parents are open to the spiritual side of life, because they have a greater chance of understanding these children. But what you also need to understand about such children is that they often, along with their higher attainment, have developed these habit patterns of thinking that they somehow know best and they do not need to listen to anybody. They may even have a certain pride, a certain arrogance of feeling that they don't have to listen to anybody who is below them, and they may have a tendency to think that almost anybody who doesn't agree with them is below them. This was, quite frankly, the case with Jesus. What do you do with these children? Well, you recognize, first of all, who they are, and you recognize who you are. You recognize that regardless of whether they have slightly more attainment than you have, they still have baggage they're coming in with. They may have a potential to do something in life, to do something for humankind, but in order to fulfill that potential, they need to overcome the dysfunctional, self-destructive, self-limiting patterns that they have brought with them from past lives, including disrespect for other people. Many of the children who are born or have been born within the last several decades have had this lack of respect for others. This has, quite frankly, been a cosmic experiment where we have allowed these children to embody because they did have a potential to take society forward. But they also had something to overcome before they can fulfill that potential. And it is, so to speak, your opportunity as a parent to help them overcome this. But in order to help your children overcome this, you must overcome your own limitation. And you need to understand, my beloved, that when a certain child is assigned to a certain couple or a single parent, it is always because both have something to learn from it. It is true that your child teaches you something, but it is equally true that your child needs to learn something from you. The thing is, in order for you to help your child with his or her lesson, you need to find out what it is in yourself. And the way to do this is to look at what is your reaction to your children's patterns. If they act a certain way, for example, if they will not listen, if they think they know better than you, or if they think they are somehow superior to you, how do you react to that? Do you feel inferior? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel you are not good enough? Do you immediately start questioning yourself? You see, my beloved, if this generation of children are supposed to fulfill their potential for being an embodiment, they need to overcome their pride and their arrogance, and they need to develop basic respect for other people. You do not help people by acting as if you are superior to them, even if you are superior in some ways, but you are not superior in the sense that you are better than others. Knowing more than others, having certain abilities that others have, do not make you an inherently better person. This is the lesson that actually Jesus, when he had overcome his own problems, attempted to teach to people that all have equal value in Christ. Therefore, your potential is to teach your children that regardless of who they are or who they think they are, they need to respect you as a human being. Of course, for you to teach your children this, you need to respect yourself. And this means you need to look at yourself and say, what are my wounds from the past? Many of you, as was discussed, have grown up in a much more authoritarian society. You may have grown up in such a society for many lifetimes, and the effect of such a society is to take away people's self-esteem and make them feel essentially worthless when they are not living up to the norms defined by society. Many of your children seem arrogant because they know from within that they have worth. They have not yet learned to balance this with basic respect. And you can teach them this if you can overcome your own lack of self-worth. And this is again what we have given so many tools for accomplishing this, for learning to love yourself, learning how to actually accept yourself as a worthy human being who has a right to be on this planet. You have a right to live your life because you do not have to be perfect in order to be worthy to live on Earth. Look at the planet. Is it a perfect planet, my beloved? Then why do you think you have to be perfect in order to have the right to be here? You have a right to be alive. You have a right to be yourself. You have a right to learn and grow throughout your lifetime. You have a right to experiment with life. I, and no spiritual being, we do not demand perfection from you. We demand nothing. We seek to help you do the best you can, given who you are and your outer circumstances. It is not a matter of you living up to some outer standard of perfection. It is a matter of, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to look at yourself? Are you willing to do better than you did before? This is how we look at you. We do not look at you with this outer standard where we judge you and put you down. Therefore, we do not want you to judge yourselves. We want you to recognize that you are living in a crossover time between the very authoritarian society in which many of you grew up and then an entirely new age. What is one of the outcomes of an authoritarian society? It is that such a society is, first of all, striving for perfection, but in striving for perfection, thinking that if it can come up with a perfect system, then perfection can be achieved. This affects how such a society looks at children. It thinks, first of all, that you should be a perfect parent, and if you are not, it must be a matter of discovering what the reason was, and then coming up with an infallible system where if everyone is forced to follow the system, then everybody will bring up perfect children. My beloved, this will never happen. It has never happened in the past and will never happen in the future. In the Aquarian age is an age of freedom, of flowing with the Spirit. You do not need a system in order to flow with the Spirit. You need openness of heart, willingness to tune in to your own higher self, willingness to look at life and observe and listen to others. You need openness. You do not need to have a system where with your outer mind you are constantly trying to force yourself into the system, and at the same time you are trying to force your children into the system. In the Aquarian age, the children that are coming in cannot be forced into systems. But this does not mean that you let them do whatever they want. You allow yourself to be yourself, and thereby you help them be themselves.
Wow. Thank you so much, Kim Michaels and Mother Mary, for that amazing dictation. I definitely received a healing catharsis, and I hope that the rest of you out there who were listening took it in as profoundly and deeply as I did. You're listening to Divine Love Talk. I'm your host, Dr. Parthenia Grant at drparthenia.com. You can reach Kim Michaels at transcendencetoolbox.com. We'll be back after commercial break, wrapping this up.
Experience your home away from home being beachfront at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Begin your getaway relaxing on over 11 acres of tropical Hawaiian gardens at Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel, voted Best Aloha Spirit by Hawaii Magazine readers. Just walking around the grounds with all the tropical vegetation, relaxing poolside, or kicking back in the sun on the world-renowned Kaanapali Beach makes you feel like you're home in paradise. There's a package to fit all your needs: wedding, honeymoon, activities, private parties, great food, or just good old beach fun. The hotel perpetuates the Hawaiian tradition at its best. Call 661-0011 or visit kbhmaui.com.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Do you still believe the old-fashioned notion you're free to withdraw your own cash from your own bank? Don't bank on it. Pat Boone here. You know, the truth is, if you have a bank account, you're a target of the government's new war against cash. According to The Secret War, a new white paper from the folks at Swiss America. Get a free copy now. It's a must-read for all of us. The Secret War.
Thanks, Pat. Call toll-free 888-732-7221. That's 888-732-7221.
Every day, governments are moving closer to outlawing cash to create a cashless society. No wonder banks are moving to limit cash withdrawals. No wonder banks must now spy on you and me for the government. Hope you'll take it from me, Pat Boone. You need to read The Secret War. It's free.
Call now, 888-732-7221. That's 888-732-7221.
Do you drink really pure water? If you drink bottled water, you should know about the bottled water dirty little secrets. Plastic bottles come from oil products. The polycarbonate jugs contain bisphenol A, a synthetic estrogen that's raised health concerns. Bottled water dispensers quickly develop algae and bacteria and should be sanitized regularly. Have you ever cleaned your water dispenser? Are you ingesting algae and bacteria and synthetic estrogen? Here's the good news. Pure Water Science can replace that dirty, outdated bottled water cooler with a high-tech water purification system. The Pure Water Science system features a stainless steel tank that constantly monitors water quality. It guarantees your water is pure. It alerts you when service or filter changes are needed, and the multi-stage purification system removes organic and inorganic contaminants. The patented self-sanitizing feature eliminates algae and bacteria while it adds oxygen to your water, and it costs less than bottled water without the bottled water hassle. No more bottles to lift. Call now, 818-502-4191. Pure Water Science, 818-502-4191.
All right, there were so many jewels in those two dictations from Mother Mary. We're all so blessed today to have received this wisdom from on high. And again, Kim Michaels, I would like to thank you for being the conduit for this information, because it's very, very timely on this Easter weekend that we as parents give ourselves a break and allow ourselves to experience a rebirth and a renewal and a regeneration of our spirits by certainly casting that burden of guilt and feeling bad about having been an imperfect parent, casting that upon Mother Mary. So that really, really touched my heart. And I picked up the importance of being an imperfectly perfect parent, because I think a big part of the message was accepting that, you know, this is the planet that we're on, and if we're looking for imperfection, that is a Herculean task. It's like Hercules in the stables. You know, you're never going to be able to clean that mess up. But also having respect for yourself first, as a human being and as a parent. I think it allows us not to be manipulated and taken advantage of as a parent, because I know that that's the way I felt with my son was, you know, he was one of those kids that came here with all of these gifts and abilities, but among those was the ability to manipulate and make you feel guilty when he couldn't get his way.
Yeah, and that was what she addressed also, that we often react that way because we have grown up in this authoritarian society, and it's taken our self-esteem away.
Yes.
So we have been brought up to think that there's always something wrong with us if we are not perfect.
Yeah, and to question
And the children,
ourselves.
of course, can figure this out and can learn to take advantage of that.
Oh, I mean, like very, very quickly, you can see literally an 18-month-old they have already mastered manipulating the parents and getting the parents to jump when they scream,
Yep.
and the parents are saying, how high? What else do I need to do? So there was a lot of comfort in that message, and I'm very, very excited about editing this show and getting that out there and helping the parents release that burden from themselves, especially the parents from our generation who are still carrying that burden of, oh my God, I wish I could have done a better job as a parent.
Yeah, and for me, the real key there is what she also talked about, that when you understand reincarnation, you understand that the children come in with something from past lives that, first of all, you can't change it because it's so deep in them. But second of all, you are not supposed to, and therefore you shouldn't feel guilty about it.
Wonderful. And I love that part about, the fact that they don't come in with a blank slate, because we're certainly taught that in philosophy. So thank you all for listening. Thank you, Mother Mary, Kim Michaels, and we will be back next week with more of on relationships on this show. We do a lot about that. And thank you for tuning in. Make sure that you download the CRN app so that you can listen as you go on your phone. And send us any questions to divinelovetalk@gmail.com on topics that you'd like for us to cover. Thank you for listening.
Which was most appropriate because that was your theme.
Are you tired of hearing your favorite